Ruby's just been telling me about a little game she plays with the chickens. It involves 2 lengths of chive, the same length. And then go on, Ruby, explain.
So, put it in, and whichever one finishes it first wins. Normally it's Maggie, which is the one here.
With the smaller crop.
You don't want it. I think I've done too much with them today.
Who's in the lead at the moment? Maggie?
Maggie. Yeah, Maggie.
Maggie with the large crop. The bird on the left.
You don't want it.
No, they don't want it, do they?
Right. I've got another plan. They normally do eat chives.
Oh, so now she's gone for the big guns. She's bringing out the wild garlic.
Smells nice. Right. Ooh. They do like chives.
Right. Maggie has got quite a large piece on the floor, but it looks like Maggie has eaten most of hers. So I think Meg. Is it Meg or Maggie?
Maggie.
Maggie, the bird on the right. She's won that particular challenge. Well done, Maggie. It's that brilliant time of year, well, where I live it is anyway, where just about most things can be planted outside now, free from all risk of frost. So because this particular bed at the allotment hasn't been touched really for quite some time, I'm just hoeing it to loosen the ground prior to planting out some spring onions. Now I've started these off in cardboard pots which will decompose in the ground, and I've planted them in groups of 5 to 6 seeds per pot. That way you've got a bunch of onions, spring onions, or bunching onions as they're also known. The clue is in the title. You've got a bunch of onions which you can use in one serving, because you can't really do much with one spring onion on its own. So if you plant them in a group, you've got a usable amount when you come to cook with them. Because these newly planted out spring onions are still on the fairly small size, I'm making sure I use a rose on the watering can, a rose head, which just prevents them getting absolutely battered by a big fat jet of water. I'm also planting out some kale, which we started from seed about 6 weeks ago. Now this year we're not growing any of the black kale, Toscano de Nero kale. We normally have it every year. No real reason. This year we're growing green curly kale and also a red variety, which name escapes me. I think it's red Russian or Russian red kale. What varieties of kale, if you grow it, are you growing? Leave a comment, let me know. These plastic buckets with potatoes were planted up over Easter, the Easter holidays. Out of the 4, 3 are coming up, and one of them, just double check, yep, one of them hasn't fired. So all is not lost, there's still time. I can put one more spud into that back one, but the ones that are growing on, as the plant goes up, the potatoes come out along the length of the stem in the soil. So in order to maximise the crop and to feed the plant and give it the covered growing space where it will develop the potatoes, I'm going to top these up. So I'll just put the camera down and get some compost. Now, the compost I'm using, it's just compost I've made myself in composting bins in the backyard. I know a lot of you are struggling to get hold of compost from shops with the way things are at the moment. So it's if you've never done it before, I really encourage you, start making your own compost. It has a value, does compost, and if you've got your own supply, you're pretty much basically printing money. So it's always worthwhile starting off making your own compost. You'll hear a few myths that you can't compost on concrete or tarmac. If you get an upturned dustbin, or you put holes in the bottom of a bin and stand that on compost or tarmac, or if you've got one of those Dalek style composting bins, and it is a myth. All my composting bins are on tarmac, and they're absolutely riddled with worms. Worms find their way there, don't you worry about that. And if you know what you're looking for, you can always go around the rest of your garden lifting up plant pots and look for worm eggs. They look a little bit like grape seeds, the worm eggs, a little bit. So you can, there's no harm if you find any of those, pop them into your compost bin to introduce some worms. But by and large, worms will find their way in there. Right, so what I've done there is I've just topped it up, and there's a little bit of the plant left there, and as that grows more, I'll just keep topping it up, and hopefully we'll get a load of potatoes. I've had quite a lot of questions recently from people who are just starting to grow their own food, and the questions are along the theme of, how do I do it? What do I do? Where do I start? Let's keep this really simple, because actually it's not that difficult to grow your own food. Get a pot. If you can't afford a nice pot, reuse something. Use an old bucket of a tub or anything. Fill the pot with some crocks, as you saw me do at the start. All that does is it will cover the drainage holes, but still allow to get water out of the pot so that your pot doesn't become waterlogged, and it stops the compost falling out of the drainage holes in the bottom. Then you fill it with compost. Now I know I'm using a bag here that's shop bought compost, but actually the compost in that bag is compost I made myself. The next thing I'm going to do is, because I'll be planting parsley into this pot, is I'm going to add some sharp sand for drainage. Again, you don't want the pot to become waterlogged. Give that sand a really good mix through, and then make a hole large enough to pop your plant in. Now if you haven't grown them from seed, that's fine. If you've been given a plant, that's fine as well. If you bought a plant, good on you. I don't care how you've got your plant, as long as it's legal, so long as you've got a plant. That's what you need next. Then you're just going to pop the plant into the well, the hole that you've made, that's large enough to hold that plant and its compost. Really easy. Don't be tempted to cram loads of plants in that pot. Pot that size, that's just about big enough. And now I'm not just talking to the people that are new to gardening, that have been asking me questions. This is a message for all of you. Have fun. Make your garden your place. Make things for it. Like Ruby's made this ornament. It's just a ladybird on a stone that she's painted and then covered it in varnish so the rain doesn't wash it all off. Don't stress yourself out if the things that you plant don't work. Not everything works, you know. If anyone ever tells you they have 100% growing success rate, avoid them, because they're lying to you. It just doesn't happen like that. Nature makes sure it doesn't happen like that. Mother Nature does like to throw a curveball, and here's a top tip: you can't beat nature. She'll always win. Even though we've got soil on the floor as of last year when we built the food forest, I still can't shake off that urge to grow crops in pots. That's how my garden started. It's how the channel got its name, Petals on the Paving Slabs, because all the pots would be on concrete paving slabs and the petals would drop off and it looked nice. So in here we did have 4 strawberry plants, and don't know really what's happened. They've not done very well at all this year, so we're going to get rid of them, and then I'll show you what we're going to put into it instead, in good old crops in pots style E. We'll be using this for something different. Right, I'll compost those. Just get off the odd little baby weed. These strawberries, however, we did get about, was it 15 to 20 runners out of the 4 plants last year. They just went crazy with runners. So that's a possible reason why the plants haven't done this well this year, because of all the energy that went into creating the runners. Right, I'm also going to just remove some of this compost, and it gives us a bit more depth to work with. Ruby, without saying what vegetable it is that we're planting, please can you just go and check the variety for me?
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, I'm really lucky to have a deputy head gardener in Ruby. She's an extra pair of hands, and she's also, I suppose more importantly, an extra brain. She really helps me remember stuff, and it amazes me how much she's learning herself. She's getting to the stage, well, she's already at that stage, she's telling me things that I'd perhaps learned a few years ago but then forgotten. You can't remember everything.
Right.
And I've probably forgotten just as much as I've learned. It's a constant cycle of learning, and Ruby really helps me with that. Right, so what variety, Roo?
Can I say?
Yeah, you can say now.
They are Aaron Pilot.
Ah, right, Aaron Pilot. So that should give away what we're going to plant in here. Do you know what, Roo? I say go and get one more. We'll put 2 in here. Yeah, if you get one more, don't rub the chips off. We can do that out here. Oh, look what I've found. You see, that is a pupa, and it's enormous. I don't know what insect it's for, but it's definitely a pupal case. Yeah. I wonder if the chickens have been fed this morning. That's all I'm saying. Hashtag say no more. That's a pupa, Ruby.
That's a what?
A pupa.
Oh.
It's a certain stage of an insect's development.
Ew, what
The next
insect?
stage after that, an adult will emerge from that pupa.
Ew, what insect?
Well, a lot of insects with wings form, they lay eggs, and then those eggs hatch into larvae, or maggots as people call them. And then if it's what we call a complete life cycle, the next stage after larvae is it then pupates and turns into that hard-cased shell thing. I think fishermen call them casters. I'm not sure though, because I don't fish myself. Right, so what were they? I've forgotten already. What?
Aaron Pilot. You've got to have a bit of an abstract mind for this, but what animal does this look like?
You need, well, show us.
Are you filming?
Yeah, what animal does that look like? Question from Ruby. Looks like an animal. I can't see it myself. Go on, Roo.
I think it looks like a whale.
A whale?
Yes.
What, the what we're looking at, the actual seed potato or the shoots?
The shoots, that's its face. There its little flap
Oh,
things.
okay.
That's its top spout.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I kind of see that, yeah. Its tail fin and that.
Yeah.
So in this bucket, we're going to plant 2 Aaron Pilot seed potatoes. So I've took the compost out to about halfway down. So, and then Ruby, if you just do it in front of the camera, okay, we don't need all those chits, because all the energy that's stored in this seed potato, right, is going to go into growing these, and it's just all basically more energy. And then when there's more stems with leaves on, it'll take more nutrients out of the compost. We don't really want to grow a lovely luscious plant. We want a plant that's going to give us potatoes. So we're just going to rub off some of these chits, and I'll leave 2 or 3 on. So there's 1 gone. Let's get rid of that. There. I'll leave 3 on. Some people leave 2, some people go down to 1, but I'm going to leave 3 chits on there. Into the bucket we go. And then we'll just cover these with compost. Just enough just an inch or two really at this stage, and then as the plants grow, we'll top the bucket up and hopefully get a decent amount of spuds. Now Ruby, I need you to help me to remember that there's potatoes in here, so that, for example, your mum doesn't either plant something else in it or empty the pot out for the compost.
Okay.
So in fact we could label it really, couldn't we? Or just write on the pot. Yeah, DFT potatoes. Do you know what DFT stands for? Don't flaming touch. DFT potatoes. And what were the Aaron Pilot?
Yes.
Right. So, done. Crops in a pot, done. If you saw my last live stream, I mentioned that Ruby had come up with an idea for a challenge. Let the chickens choose. So the challenge today is, we've got 2 seed packs, but I'm only going to plant one of them in these 2 fairly large pots. We'll get a small veg in there. So the seed packs we've got are lettuce, Lolo Rossa, and radish rainbow. 1 seed, 2 pots. Sorry, 1 type of seed, 2 pots. I'll actually scatter a few into each of the pots. So how exactly is this going to work, Ruby? Let the chickens choose.
We're going to put them down on the floor.
Yeah.
And whichever ones the chickens peck first is the ones that you'll plant. However...
Well, at the moment, that chicken is busy trying to peck the chives through the cage.
So, if they don't like these, because I also do a game with them with chives.
Yeah.
I will put a chive on top of each packet and see which chive they eat first.
Alright, yeah, fair enough. Right then, so we've got Lolo Rossa and rainbow radish. Let the chickens choose. Oh, they've ran off.
I'll step to the side.
And let the contest begin. Oh, nearly.
Is Maggie gonna do it?
Oh, she stood.
Yeah.
She stood on the Lolo Rossa. We'll count that. We'll take that. Yeah, we'll take that. Okay. Lolo Rossa. 2 pots of lettuce it is. Right, thanks chickens. You crazy birds. Ruby, I don't suppose you know which bird it was that chose the lettuce seeds?
I think it was Maggie, which is the one with the small comb.
If you've been watching from the start, you will have noticed, because I put massive letters on screen pointing out my error, but I called it a crop, not a chrome. A crop is further down the chicken's body, and it's where they store the food. It's kind of like in the throat, in the chest, the neck area, if you will. Ruby knows what she's on about. Don't listen to me, listen to Ruby. The thing on top of her head that looks a bit like a semi-inflated rubber glove, the bright red thing, that is the comb. Ruby knows what she's on about. Perhaps I should promote Deputy Head Gardener and actually just let her boss the garden, because she bosses me.
And Maggie's the one with the big comb, because it sounds like massive.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Right then, so lettuce seeds, here we go. These have got an RHS Award of Garden Merit, this particular variety of lettuce. I have made a video about the RHS Award of Garden Merit, so I'll put a card up at the top of the screen, and should you wish, you can go and have a look. I'm struggling here, I don't know. Why is this so difficult? Really shouldn't be difficult. Right, so lettuce, thinly so, and they don't need planting very deep at all. If I've never shown you this before, just a little tip. When you cup your hand, you get lines forming. If you start doing that with the seeds, they'll find their way into those lines, and it gives you like a natural channel. So I can't tell you the angle, but you find an angle that's right, and keep doing that with your hand. They'll slowly move down the grooves. In fact, hang on, I'm just going to push them into that one. It seems to be moving quicker in that line. Right, and then you've got like your own seed dispenser. Just go a few. Next one. Done. Right, lightly cover, so I'm just going to frizz the soil over. I don't know if that's a word.
I don't know, but I love it.
Or waz, frizz or waz. I'm just going to waz the soil with my fingertips.
Sounds so British.
Right, so they're covered. Firm them down. Let's do it on this one. Yeah, I can see why you're watching chickens. I bet you're thinking, oh, if he leaves them pots of lettuce near our little area, we might be able to poke through and tear bits off with our beaks, like you do with the chives. Which, to be fair, the chives are there accidentally on purpose, aren't they, Ruby?
Yes.
For that very reason. Our chickens love chives. Right, that's both pots done. I'll give them a water. I will water them with a rose, so it sprinkles rather than a solid jet, because obviously a jet of what big heavy jet of water is just going to blast those seeds all over the place. We don't want that to happen. So a gentle water with a rose on the outlet will stop the soil and the seeds getting disturbed. Next thing we need to do is write some labels, but our very first challenge, let the chickens choose challenge, is done. I'm quite happy with that. I think we could, the possibilities for this are endless really, aren't they, Ruby? What kind of things do you think we could do with it in the future?
Well, anything.
Anything.
The chickens could decide what jobs you do at the allotment, so you could have 2 lists, and on one list one thing, one list not so jobby, and then...
They could. Can you imagine if they never ever choose weeding? The weeds would never get done, would they?
That would be so cool.
We get a lot of
bad.
weeds at the allotment,
Yeah.
don't we?
It would be bad, but my arms wouldn't hurt from it.
Right, if you guys have any ideas of things you'd like to see gardening related, I don't mean like, should I sell my house and all live in a tent? You know, should I keep the house or live in a tent? I don't mean like big life-changing decisions, but if you've got any gardening related ideas that you'd like to see a Let the Chickens Choose challenge done with, oh, then leave a comment underneath, guys. Let us know. Okay. Right. I think this is going to be a good challenge, this, Ruby.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. The fact that there's like a danger, jeopardy element of not being in control and just letting the chickens choose, isn't there?
Yeah.
Right. Brilliant. Let's get some labels and let's water these lettuce then.
Yeah.